I sit in the chair. After posting a couple stories in the past few days, I remembered my favorite terrible player story. This one is more recent and doesn't involve that guy from my other stories, but instead a different guy who I'll call Rando because he was a stranger who joined a group where the rest of us knew each other. Rando was kind of an ass right off the bat. He demanded that his character be a neutral good assassin, which the GM shot down on the grounds that you can't be good and also be a murderer for hire, well, except to the extent that adventurers are naturally murderers for hire. He would also try to alter the past to his own benefit, like another player stole something from his bag, also a dick move, and Rando argued that the bag was retroactively trapped, which the GM again shot down. But it turned out that his biggest flaws were not paying attention and having phenomenally bad judgment. The story up to that point was that we'd been approached by a pseudo-dragon tiny dragon named Charlie, who warned us that an evil elven wizard was planning to do some evil shit, and we had to go on a quest to stop him. We get to a town where we are supposed to do some quest stuff, and Charlie stays outside the walls. I can't risk being seen there because the evil elven wizard has eyes in that town, he explains. If he finds out I'm here, he'll come after me, and if he finds out you're working for me, he'll come after you. So please be careful not to tell anyone that you're working with a pseudo-dragon, especially if they're an elf and or a wizard. Through various shenanigans, the party gets separated. The bag thief and I are trapped in a cave somewhere, and Rando is alone in the town when this happens. GM, you're wandering around the streets when an elf dressed in wizard robes approaches you. Hello, he says. Have you seen my pet pseudo-dragon? I can't find him anywhere. Rando, oh, you mean Charlie? Yeah, my friends and I have been working with that guy. He's just outside town. Now you might think that Rando was intentionally fucking us over, but no, he genuinely did not make the connection between don't tell anyone about the pseudo-dragon. The evil elf wizard is looking for him, and hello, I'm an elf wizard. Have you seen a pseudo-dragon anywhere? GM, you're really? Well, okay. The elf is grateful. He wants to know if you can give him a detailed description of your friends and their last known location. Rando, yeah, I tell him everything. GM, great. The elf writes down everything you said. Then he says, thanks for being so helpful. I'd love to repay you with tea and snacks at my house. It's this way. He starts leading you onto a side street. Rando, okay. I follow him to his house. GM, you arrive at a rundown shack. After you, says the elf. Rando, I enter the shack. GM, you're sure you want to enter this shack? Rando, absolutely. GM, okay. The elf follows you into the shack. Roll initiative. A couple of spells later, he ties you to a chair. You just sit tight while I track down your friends. He says, if I don't find them, I'll be back with more questions for you. Either way, you are 100% dead when I'm done with you. He conjures a snake to guard you and leaves. You are now alone in the shack with the snake. Rando, I sit in the chair and wait. GM, do you want to maybe do anything? Try to escape. Rando, no, I don't want the snake to bite me. I'll sit in the chair. GM, okay. Meanwhile, in the cave, the GM switches to me and the bag thief as we try to escape the cave. This adventure lasts for at least a couple solid hours, during which the GM repeatedly checks in on Rando to ask if he wants to do literally anything to try to escape before the wizard returns. Each time, nope, I'll wait. Eventually the wizard finds me and the bag thief. We manage to escape from him, at which point he starts heading back to the shack. GM, you're sure you don't want to? Rando, no, I sit in the chair. GM, okay. The elf returns and says, welp, I don't need anything else from you. Nice knowing you. He conjures a spiky monster. I forget what it was. Nothing outrageously powerful. Tells it to kill you. And leaves again. It's just you, the spiky monster, and the snake. Rando, I sit in the chair. GM, the spiky monster is walking toward you. Rando, I sit in the chair. GM, the spiky monster is standing right in front of you. Rando, I sit in the chair. GM, the spiky monster raises a spike and presses it to your chest, just over your heart. Rando, I sit in the chair. GM. It stabs you in the heart as a coup de grace. You die. Rando. What? You didn't tell me we could die in this game. This isn't fair. How was I supposed to know I would die if I didn't do anything? He complained for a long time and then quit the campaign. That time a player spent an hour making his turn. So I play D&D 5e every week with some friends over Roll20 and tend to have fun. In our party is an Amish wizard, a dwarven bard, a dwarven warlock, a Goliath barbarian, dragonborn ranger and a drow warlock. I'm sure just by reading the races you can figure out who this story is about. At this point in the campaign we're in the Beast Realms fighting a homebrewed boss surrounded by minions. We all take maybe 13 minutes tops on our turns depending on spells or saves we are making, and the fight is going at a good pace. Then the drow gets his turn. The drow makes a big show explaining in great detail how he makes every movement, scanning the thoughts and memories of those he passes by. I still don't understand how he can just do that at 3rd level, but whatever, and asking RDM about essentially metagaming through reading our thoughts. Then as he casts he explains with extreme detail. Him pulling out components, targeting enemies, describing the sensation we all feel as a fireball shoots from his hands, and then going to the bathroom for 10 minutes before he did his damage rolls. By the time he came back it was midnight and half of us left the game for the night. Naive Babby GM ignores warning signs. TLDR, player wants to play Evil Pathfinder module. Signs up for neutral 5e homebrew. I'm a huge dumbass that ignores warning signs and you should not emulate me. Certain details changed to protect the innocent. If you reply with "that's not how it happened," I will assume that you are Clem. I'm sorry things ended the way they did, but mostly I'm sorry to have invited you in the first place. Certain things I omitted were actually omitted for your sake. I sincerely hope you get the help that you need, and I wish you no ill will. Recruitment. I recently recruited for a 5e campaign. I was pretty upfront about being a new GM, having house rules, and wanting to tell a collaborative story. I posted the hook, add no murder habus, and tell people to contact me if interested. Someone does. They are looking for a long-term group for them and their girlfriend, and want to know more about my campaign. I tell them more, including that it is not a module, it is my own setting, and that I had problematic players in the past including cheaters. So I have non-negotiable rules that I need every single player to abide by, which include, I make the rules. I need to see and approve your character sheet prior to the game. The character sheet needs to have a character on it, and not just a stat block. Keep min-maxing and metagaming to a minimum. Everyone is here to have fun including me, so don't do things that actively take away from someone's ability to have fun. They tell me the rules are fine, and ask if they can play a Pathfinder race, and if not, can they play a Pathfinder class? Or maybe even homebrew something, because they've played so much 5e that they've already experienced every race and class. I tell them no, and reiterate that this is 5e, and I'm a fairly new GM. This is my second ever timed Ming, and first with this system. So I'm trying to stick to core materials as much as possible, and that I can see how it might be boring to play something you have played before. I tell them, if they don't think they can have fun in this situation, that they don't have to sign up, and I won't be offended or anything like that. I also add, not every player is a good fit for every campaign, and that's okay. I'm more interested in finding people that are good fits naturally, without having to shave pieces off of something or another to try and make it fit. They swear to me that this is fine, that they want to roleplay a character, and that the setting sounds interesting, but also that they are kinda min-maxy, but they can tone it down if need be. At this point my gut feeling is that this player won't be a good fit, but I ignore it and invite them in like a dipshit. Oh, and bring your girlfriend too. I'll refer to them later as Clem and Clem's girlfriend. Preparation. I now have 4 players and a start date of 2 weeks later. I give them character creation instructions and a big old text dump of setting info that I do not expect them to read thoroughly, as it's more to help them figure out a backstory for their characters. Since everyone was informed in advance that their characters will be working with other characters in this location with this problem, and it's up to them to decide why their character is there with this particular group, the players collectively decide that the party members all knew each other in advance because they are traveling merchants. I tell them that's cool with me. Ask them for some more details. And we decide that they're members of a larger mercantile company that's had some turnover. But the party members were separated from the rest of the company because plot. They were supposed to meet up in the starting city, so that's where session 1 will start. Awesome. Everyone rolls a character. I approve of all of their sheets. No real issues. I'm lulled into a false sense of security. They establish what they sell. Exotic goods. Including low-level magical items. Cockatrice eggs and meat. Things like that. They even do some repair work. Prior to session 1, I post several admittedly basic NPCs they can claim to know and have worked with. One of the NPCs was a keeper for the exotic animals, but recently left the company under mysterious circumstances, taking most of the animals with them. I also provide an explanation for why they were separated from the company in the first place. There was a mix-up with their routes of travel, but thanks to one of the player characters taking the criminal background, they were able to enter the city just a couple days late with forged papers. The group accepts this. The microphone. I asked the players to configure their microphones in advance. Clem's girlfriend did not. Or maybe her microphone is just potato tier garbage. Either way, session 1 is slow to start and only slightly faster to progress because of the technical difficulties. Another player puts some microphone configuration info in the Discord, but Clem's girlfriend does not reply. No idea if she ever read it. Eventually, she starts typing out her questions in chat, and I reply either in chat or over the microphone, since she can very clearly hear, just not speak. Session 1. The party arrives at the town, where they are supposed to meet the rest of their company. The company is not there. You both left from the same place, only 2 days apart, and there's only one major road from there to here. So if they had difficulties and stopped before getting to town, you would have run into them. Wow, what a mystery. Time to well, my character has no reason to be here. Baffled because everyone had 2 weeks to decide why their characters were there. I ask why, and Clem tells me that, since the NPC I mentioned earlier left and took all the animals with them, that Clem's character is superfluous, since their character was the animal keeper. I have since scoured the Discord for any mention of this, and found nothing. I explain that there are still some animals left, and they can take care of the ones that remain, but you kinda need to find them first. The party starts investigating. Long story short, one character climbs on the roof of a warehouse. Clem's character is irritated with him because he has no reason to be paranoid and climb up there. Let's just go to the guard and report the merchants as missing. And they bicker for a bit before I improvise a street brawl, and they draw their attention to that. They settle the fighting NPCs down and then settle themselves down and decide that if the warehouse didn't give them a clear lead, they would go to the guard. I figure all the conflict was in character and the game proceeds. They go the guard and investigate more places etc. However, session 1 has to end before the players reach combat due to people needing to go to bed and so much time being lost, and yes, I realize some of that is on me. Yay, learning curve. Post session. Clem immediately DMs me their concerns about not meshing well with the group. They aren't having fun, but they are willing to give it one more session. I ask for more information and they explain that their character is lawful and would not support a character that breaks the law by climbing on roofs. I propose either playing this character a bit differently or rolling up a new one. I point out that a character can be lawful without following every single written law at all times. The interpretation of lawful/chaotic as being opposed to change/in favor of change is a valid one, and your character did enter the city with forged paperwork. I also point out that you don't have to play to an alignment at all, since they aren't a big deal in my setting. Alternatively, you can just change their alignment. I'm told that I'm not playing to an alignment. I'm playing a character, and you can't just change a character. I point out that they absolutely can, but they disagree. They then proceed to propose changing the character by having her find religion. Okay, great. There's a large pantheon of deities in the handout stuff I provided 2 weeks ago. Go take a look at that and or just ask me if I have whatever specific thing it is you're looking for. Yeah, I'm looking for a deity of curses and plagues, like this one from Pathfinder. I tell them I have nothing like that. My pantheon is mostly good or neutral deities. What about this evil one? Yeah, that one doesn't have much of a following because she pretty much just likes killing 24/7 and doesn't really discriminate between killing a follower of hers and killing just any random person. That's not how deities work in real life. This is not real life. This is D&D and these are the gods of this setting. And while they aren't a major focus of this campaign, I'm not convinced they need to be changed. What is it you want to do? What about this deity opposed to change? Could I play a fanatic that takes his tenets to their extreme and forms a cult of undead that seeks to stop all births on the planet so that eventually they are the only sentient being left? No, you can't. At that point the deity or 90% of the others would reach down and just kill you with no saving throw. This isn't an evil campaign. Oh, that character would be lawful good. Okay, and per my established rules, I'm vetoing them. The conversation has gone on for a good 5 hours at this point, and I'm omitting a lot of it purely for the sake of brevity. I explained that, given this entire conversation, and your feelings about session 1, I don't think you're going to have fun in this campaign. We just want different things out of it, and that's okay. No, I want to make this work. I've just never had a GM with rules this rigid before. To follow them, I need to understand them better. I don't know why. Since you had no trouble following them until tonight, your character looked good on paper. I have no idea why you can't RP them differently or roll up a character that meshes well with the group, since that was one of your chief complaints. However, you also tacked on, if you think you can change a character then you aren't a good storyteller. What does this mean? My entire setting sucks, and I'm punishing players for things that previous players did. I reiterate that they aren't going to have fun in this campaign, at least not without taking the fun away from someone else. 2/4 of the players enjoyed it for what it was, so at this point, I think it's best if return of microphone. Well, my girlfriend didn't have fun. She was ignored all night. I'm sorry that her microphone and or Discord is a piece of garbage. But I did respond to the things she typed out in chat. But she asked questions on mic and was ignored. Then clearly no one could hear her. Again, I'm sorry. You told her you could hear her. And at one point, we could. Everyone heard one clear line from her. Can you guys hear me? After which point, no one heard another peep out of her. It's the GM's job to make sure everyone is heard. Why would I assume she is even still speaking after that if no one can hear her? B, her icon isn't lit up to indicate she's pressing her push to talk key, and C, she's been typing in chat. I have never met this person before in my life. I do not know what her normal voice activity is like. Some people talk a lot on mic. Some people don't. I don't know what kind of person she is. I'm sorry she felt ignored, but I really don't know what I'm supposed to do in this situation. If a reader knows, feel free to tell me in the comments. But know that any advice I receive isn't going to go towards making Clem and Clem's girlfriend have fun. Because 6 long hours after the 4-hour session 1 came to an end, after going around and around in circles and accomplishing nothing, I finally just kicked them. I know I'm not perfect, and my setting is far from perfect too, but I just want everyone to have fun. That's all. I'm not going to force someone to stay in a campaign they aren't enjoying. But I also don't want to be forced to run the kind of game I don't enjoy running. I also didn't want to have to kick anyone. I naively hoped that anyone who wasn't having fun and whose wants couldn't be accommodated would bow out gracefully. I also hoped that people would be honest about what they wanted out of a campaign up front. Stupid me. The remaining 2 players said they had fun and want to continue. They were not upset when I told them Clem and Clem's girlfriend were kicked. I'm posting this at event. B, to warn people not to ignore warning signs, and C, maybe even get some advice. It's very disheartening to go through this, and yes, a very large part of it is entirely my fault. But at least it happened after session 1, and not session 6 or 12, or whatever. Edit. Oh yeah, I was advised to warn future players in advance that my campaign was gonna be a lawful good one. It's not. Their character was the only lawful one in the party. Edit of edit. Sorry folks, but I found 2 replacement players almost immediately after this went down.